Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. General Hospital spoilers. Kristina snaps and makes Ava fatal target. Sam grief pushes sister too far. General Hospital, GH, spoilers reveal that Kristina Corinthos Davis, Kate Mancy, has been ripping into Ava Jerome, Maura West, in public and vowing to make her pay, which is exactly the last thing she needs to be doing. Alexis Davis, Nancy Lee Grahn, warned Kristina that she was giving Rick Lansing, Rick Hurst, exactly what he wanted and could hurt the case against Ava. Likewise, Molly Lansing Davis, Kristen Vagenos, fears that Kristina is making mistakes that could lead to Ava getting off the hook. If Ava doesn't face justice in the courtroom, Kristina may be tempted to take matters into her own hands. That's especially true since Kristina is about to face a devastating blow. Sam McCall's Kelly Monaco upcoming demise will hit Kristina hard and certainly pile on the pain. Kristina has already been trying to grieve for her baby and find some way to carry on. The loss of Sam may push Kristina over the edge, so Kristina may be capable of anything at that point. It's easy to imagine Kristina deciding that people like Ava shouldn't get to live when Sam perished after giving up part of her liver for Lulu Spencer, Alexa Havens. Whether Sam loses her life because of medical complications or as the result of something more nefarious like Cyrus Reynolds, Jeff Cover, plot, she's not going to survive her latest hospital visit. As Kristina deals with the heaviness of that news, she may crumble and completely snap. Could Kristina get her hands on another weapon and cause even more chaos? Kristina just might track Ava down and make an attempt on her life. If Kristina puts Ava in the hospital next, she could be arrested all over again. It could leave Alexis and Sonny Corinthos, Morris Bernard, with another mess to clean up. But Kristina could perhaps get off the hook due to temporary insanity in the end. Whatever the case, GH writers have been making Kristina look downright unhinged against Ava. Perhaps Ava should be afraid of physical harm after Kristina loses Sam and comes even more unglued. General Hospital spoilers say some curveballs are definitely headed Ava's way, so stick with us for more predictions on all the turmoil and updates on the next chapter of this story. Port Charles was never quiet for long, but in the past week, the tension had become electric, the kind of palpable atmosphere that suffocates even the sunniest of autumn days. Rumors of betrayals, revenge plots, and sinister dealings swept through town like wildfire, and everyone felt the pressure mounting. Yet no one could have predicted that the heart of the turmoil would center around the once tightly knit Corinthos family, with Kristina Davis reaching her breaking point. And at the heart of her fury stood Ava Jerome, marked as a fatal target in Kristina's spiraling descent. Sam's grief turns Kristina's world upside down. It all started with Sam McCall's deepening grief. The resilient private investigator had always been the pillar of strength for her sisters, but even she wasn't impervious to loss. The sudden death of a close friend left her shattered, unable to find solace in her usual methods of coping. The grief clawed at her soul, tearing away at her confidence and emotional stability. Kristina watched helplessly as Sam unraveled before her, feeling a surge of protectiveness she hadn't felt since they were children. But Kristina's worry quickly shifted to something darker. She blamed Ava Jerome for the chain of events that led to Sam's devastation, twisting the situation in her mind until it became clear that Ava had to pay. Ava, after all, had always been a lightning rod for trouble and heartbreak in Port Charles, particularly where the Corinthos family was concerned. Her involvement in shady deals and manipulations had left emotional scars on nearly everyone in Kristina's circle. And now, as Sam's grief grew unbearable, Kristina's dormant resentment came roaring to life. The tipping point, a heated confrontation. The walls of Metro Court were thick, but they weren't soundproof enough to contain the furious confrontation that exploded between Kristina and Ava. Kristina had stormed in, her eyes blazing with a mix of pain and rage, as Ava sat sipping a martini, looking altogether too composed for Kristina's liking. "You destroyed everything," Kristina hissed, her voice cracking with emotion. "You've taken from me, from my family, over and over again. You never stop, Ava. And now look what you've done to Sam." Ava, ever the queen of nonchalance, raised an eyebrow but didn't move from her seat. "Kristina, I don't know what you're talking about. Sam's going through something terrible, yes, but how is that my fault?" "That's just it," Kristina snapped, her hands shaking as she gripped the back of a chair, knuckles white. "You don't take responsibility for anything. You act like you're untouchable, like nothing you've done ever comes back to haunt you." Ava's expression turned cold. "You're angry, I get that. But you need to direct that anger somewhere else. I've got enough enemies, and trust me, you don't want to be on that list." The threat, thinly veiled though it was, ignited something dangerous in Kristina. A line had been crossed, and she could feel herself teetering on the edge of a precipice she hadn't visited in years. Ava was right, she didn't want to be on the list of people to go after. But Kristina wasn't scared. She was enraged. Sam's descent pushes Kristina over the edge. Kristina's nights were plagued by visions of Sam, sobbing uncontrollably, lost in a haze of grief that refused to dissipate. Every visit to Sam's apartment ended the same way, with Kristina helplessly holding her sister, wishing she could fix everything but knowing she couldn't. It was Ava's fault, she told herself. If Ava hadn't gotten involved in that business deal, Sam's friend wouldn't have died. If Ava hadn't been so reckless, so selfish, Sam wouldn't be suffering now. Unable to let it go, Kristina began obsessing. She stopped visiting Sam and started plotting instead, piecing together a plan to make Ava pay. Every corner of her mind was consumed by it. What could she do to hurt Ava the way Ava had hurt her family? Her obsession spiraled out of control until she could hardly think of anything else. Michael noticed her growing distraction, but when he questioned her, she brushed him off, pretending everything was fine. Sonny, too, sensed something was wrong, but Kristina had learned long ago how to keep her true feelings hidden from her father. It was better this way. No one needed to know what she was planning. Target locked. Ava's fatal future. In the darkened confines of her small apartment, Kristina finally made her decision. Ava wouldn't get away with what she'd done, not this time. Kristina couldn't live with herself if she let Ava walk free while Sam was drowning in pain. So she would do what had to be done. She would stop Ava once and for all. Her plan was simple. She knew Ava's routines, the places she frequented, the people she trusted. Kristina would strike when Ava least expected it. Her hands shook as she loaded the small handgun she kept hidden in her closet, the weight of it both terrifying and exhilarating. The idea of eliminating Ava had taken root in her mind, and now that it was fully formed, there was no going back. A part of her, deep down, knew this was wrong. She wasn't a killer. But then Ava had killed before, hadn't she? Ava had blood on her hands, and maybe Kristina thought it was time for karma to come calling. She convinced herself that she was doing this for Sam, for her family, for everyone who had suffered because of Ava's selfishness. The end justified the means. The final showdown. The night was eerily quiet as Kristina approached the Jerome Gallery, where Ava was closing up for the evening. The streetlights flickered, casting long shadows on the ground. Kristina's heart pounded in her chest, her palms sweaty as she gripped the gun tightly. She could hear Ava inside, humming softly to herself as she locked up the doors. This was it, the moment Kristina had been waiting for. She raised the gun, hands trembling as she aimed through the glass window. Ava turned, her eyes widening in shock as she saw Kristina standing there, weapon in hand. "Kristina, what the hell are you doing?" Ava's voice wavered, her bravado crumbling in the face of the cold barrel pointed at her. Kristina's finger hovered over the trigger, her breath hitching in her throat. This was the moment. But could she do it? Could she pull the trigger and end Ava's life? For a split second, doubt flickered in her mind, and that was all Ava needed. With lightning speed, she ducked behind a display, knocking over sculptures and artwork in her haste to escape. Kristina fired once, twice, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. But when the dust settled, Ava was gone. What now? Kristina stood there, gun in hand, heart racing as the realization of what she'd just done began to sink in. She had crossed a line she could never uncross. Ava was still alive, but how long would that last? And what would happen when Sonny found out what she had tried to do? Port Charles was about to be shaken to its core, and Kristina had just lit the match.